Howdy folks, welcome to part 2 of my little experimental rock tumbler barrel build. In the preceding segment I showed taking, and I forgot to show that it was Louis that I was taking off, although you can see the red mark, which I did on camera. I'm going to explain that in a minute, but it's been, oh, and the other thing is I set the timer for 2 hours. I thought I remembered that this thing, once it reached 0, started counting up. Whoops, I misremembered that. So it would have been 2 hours at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is now, oh heck, I should have looked before I started the camera. It is 7:56, so it's been about 2 hours and 45 minutes, roughly. So anyway, we're going to get these cracked open here in a minute. Alright, now I bet you're all wondering why the heck did he pull that off 2 and almost 3 hours before it was due, or before he shut the other ones off. Well, here's something about rock tumbling I've been finding a lot of people mentioning. You are absolutely not supposed to turn this off during a tumble cycle. The word concrete is used quite often. Now, I would say for sure, don't ever dump this down the drain. I've actually got a book with picture on where the guy did his P-trap and then he cut it in half and it was just fully packed. The issue I have is, you guys could hear, that thing's not terribly loud, but if I'm trying to do a video out here on another subject, it'd be nice not to have that in the background. There's a couple ideas I can do to kind of quiet it down. The other thing is, we lose power quite frequently. So, you know, I asked around and I literally posed the question, you know, hey, is this even a, you know, is it a good idea? Is there like a time limit to that? I was told anything from 5 minutes up to, I talked to a friend of mine who's got a friend that rock tumbles and has been doing it for many years. She routinely turns hers off overnight and lets them sit. She just keeps a log as far as the hours tumbled, and you know, until she gets up to her 5 or 7 days or whatever she was shooting for. But so this is all over the map. This is the big experiment for this part. You know, part 1 was, will these even work, which hopefully we'll find that out here in a minute. But this part of the scientific experimentation is, if you shut this off for 20 minutes or a half hour, is it going to mess things up? And I mean, honestly, I'll probably do one at one point where I'll get a wait mid-batch and shut it off for like 3 or 4 days. Just out of curiosity to see what happens. Of course, when I do that, I'm not going to use nice rocks probably, but I doubt that what we're going to find in here is anything resembling concrete. I believe that on the bottom here, this is the upside, there'll be a layer of probably really heavy silt-like or soupy concrete. And I'm almost willing to guess that if I put it back in the tumbler for about 20 minutes, that probably wouldn't even be there. So let's, and the other thing I'm curious about, I'm wondering if when I unscrew this, is that going to be a nub of its former self. But let's find out, because it's been a long time and I'd like to know what the heck happened with these. This is a hard hobby for people without patience. All right, as you can see, it really doesn't. Well, you probably can't see it, but it really doesn't look like it got deformed at all. If I remember right, the end was rounded like that anyway, a little bit. But all right, let's see what we got here. Trying not to turn this to agitate the stuff, but I'm going to have to, I guess, to a certain extent. Ah, here we go. What do we have? Well, it looks to me like, well, sorry, I'm working solo again camera-wise. I don't see any solid layer of slurry. So let's dump these out and rinse them and see what we got. Well, folks, I finally got them out, rinsed off enough. They say you're not supposed to let them dry out between stages because if there is any carryover grit and it gets caught in a crack, it can dry again as hard as concrete. I'm going to follow that directive, but I'll get these weighed out. They shrank a lot. In fact, I'm thinking probably 5 days would have been more than adequate for these. But and keep in mind too that this was Louie, who is the unveined, smooth, no flapper helper thingies inside tumbler barrel. So I'm kind of worried to see what we're going to see in the next ones, if there's any rocks left or not. Well, folks, this one is Huey, which is the two veined barrel, and as you can see there, you'd see it if I could put it in the dang camera focus. That did leak. I guarantee you that is that's some of that gray color from the grit. So yeah, it looks like this one leaked. It's still plenty of liquid inside, so I don't think it hurt us, but it did unfortunately leak. Well, that's what this is all about. It's science here. Well, both the veins are still intact. Man, I'm not doing good with camera work. Sorry about that. Both the veins are still intact, but you can see that color compared to this color. Yeah, I'd say we had a leak through, unfortunately. Boy, I sure hope that comes through. That's Tiger's Eye. And I hope that shimmer is coming through good, because on my end it's pretty darn nice looking. But, and I don't know if you remember this one. It was the one blue one that had the two angle cuts on it. This one didn't shrink up too badly. Then I had these, which I want to say when they went in they were more like that size. So I thought I tested everything with the Mohs hardness tester, but maybe a couple of them slipped by me. Ooh, that's... can you see how those two lines keep appearing and disappearing? Or, man, pretty sweet looking. Alright, folks, and finally we have Dewey, the 4-veined or bladed Rock Tumbler Barrel. You can see all of the veins survived without a hitch. This one didn't leak, but it looks like the stuff that's left in the barrel is a lot thicker than the other ones are, or were. Whoa, I had to bring you back on this one. I just spotted this and I have no clue what it is, but, and please tell me that shows up on the camera. You guys see that kind of, there it shows a little bit maybe. Do you see that? It's almost like the opal effect. I think they call that chamoyancy. But don't quote me on that either. Remember, I'm a newbie here. But my God, look at that. If it shows up half as good on camera as it's showing up to me, I'll be happy. These are Huey's rocks. Huey was the two-bladed tumbler barrel. When we started, the load for Huey was 11 ounces. Or, I'm sorry, 1 pound 11 ounces. It has shrunk down to 1 pound 5.8 ounces, so we have a loss of 4.2 ounces. Alright, this is from Dewey, who was the 4-vaned tumbler barrel. When we started, Dewey had 1 pound 7 ounces, shrunk down to 1 pound 4.7 for a loss of 2.3 ounces, which frankly kind of surprises me because going by that metric, Dewey did worse than the other two. You'll see in a second, but 4.7 for Louie, who had no veins, a loss, I mean, and I obviously just told you 4.2 ounce loss for Huey there, so I don't know what the heck to make of that, but it sure still looks awful nice, the rocks do, so honestly, I don't know. I guess I'll have to do final judgment at the end, but I don't really see a whole lot of difference as far as the actual rounding and smoothing of these across the board. So, alright, finally we have Louie, who was our smooth interior PVC pipe tumbler barrel. And when we started, Louie was carrying 1 pound 12 ounces, dropped that down to 1 pound 7.3 ounces for a loss of 4.7 ounce. Again, kind of surprised. And for having no veins, you know, again, I don't really see any difference much, if any. It's subjective. I mean, all these rocks weren't identical. I guess the only way to truly test it would be to start out with identically sized cubes of, you know, quartz or something like that, that all weighed the same, all exactly the same size, and, you know, do it that way. Well, good luck. Let me know how it comes out for you. But, well, folks, I think I am going to say success. Obviously, we'll know more as the steps progress, but and again, I am not an expert. This is my first ever batch of rocks. I've watched years of rock tumbling video. I've read books, you know, internet knowledge and all that, but this is actually the first step. So take what I say with a grain of basalt. I'm sorry. Oh, basalt. Take it with a grain of basalt. Get it? Anyway, I'm tired. It's late. They look smooth. You know, just picturing what I've seen on video with what I'm seeing here. You know, if I was an advanced tumbler, you know, there's probably some of those I might have cut some little nibs here, you know, off here, or ground a little spot there. Anywhere there's a crack, you have a potential of carrying grit over to the next step, which is basically the worry there is it's like sanding a piece of wood, starting to 80 grit, going down to 220, ready for finish, and having somebody come back and sand a spot with 80 grit again. You know, it's basically, you know, you've got the real fine grit in there, and then you've got some particles of heavier grit. The other reason I'm not going to show the reloading is I've got quite a bit of cleanup to do on those barrels, and it's, you know, 20 after 9 on a Friday night, and I'm tired. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. You know, stick with the series. I've got a lot of other rocks. I've got 2 other barrels, or 3 other barrels I've been working on, bigger ones, 12-pound analog barrels. So we'll get to see if those work for bigger rocks, but you know, like I said, I'm not an expert, but given what I saw compared to what I've seen, they look awful good. And I'm not trying to blow my own horn, toot my own horn there, but they're smooth. Again, no major issues. So So we'll see. I really do appreciate you guys watching, and look for part 3 coming up. Thank you very much.